writing on the wall within the party.
The nature of the presidential election, or the campaign indeed, Nick, is vicious. It's often a bloodbath, and you alluded to this earlier on. But I'm sure that your opponents would have a field day attaching your thoughts on immigration, for example, to far-right ideology. Would you be prepared for that kind of bloodbath?
Yes, no. I'm here for that. One of the terms I use is radical candor. You know, like if you love something so much, you deserve its full and true honesty. Okay, and I love Ireland. Like we deserve to have to be honest to what's going on. And the thing that I point out about immigration, I focus on the costs and the money. And if you want to call me far right for saying that,
well, I didn't call you far right.
No, but I'm sorry. I'm saying the plural.
Yes.
I'm saying the plural you. Sorry. If you or anybody wants to call me far right for giving out about 5 billion or 6 billion euros being spent to enrich a small group of politically connected hotel owners, landlords, and rogue businessmen to house asylum seekers, then call me far right, because that is a national scandal. The Charlie Haughey government came down over 10 million euros of spending, or 20 million. This is billions. Like I can never get over the amount of money being spent on IPAS, and I've exposed it at every level over the last couple of years, because I'm one of very few people that are actually looking at budgets. I spend my nights going through government expenditure reports and looking at who's getting this money, what is going on. It is a shame on the taxpayer, and the fact that it all got rooted through the Department of Children. And I have a young son, and we're struggling to get daycare now. And when we do get it in a month or two's time, it's going to cost us a fortune. And I'm looking at these numbers.
It's shifting to justice now, of course. But in terms, I mean, what they probably would say to you there, Nick, is look, this was completely unprecedented. It was an emergency situation. We had to find a way around this. We weren't ready for it, but we did our very best because these people needed our help. And we had, as you know, you'll keep hearing this, we had certain obligations from the European Union as well, and from other sources too. So what would you say to that argument if that was made to you?
Well, there's two things there. First of all, okay, there was a spike in numbers in the emergency, but at the same time, our government literally wrote in 12 languages out to all these countries, inviting people here to our brand new model, which would guarantee your own keys to a house. Like that is
this is Roderick O'Gorman you're referring to. Yes.
This is an official government, invitation. So whatever, you invited this emergency on ourselves. What was the second point there? What was the second part of that question?
Well, what I was saying to you is what their argument back to you was is that we had these obligations, and if you leave the invite aside, the obligations, because I've been told it several times on this programme, they're very real obligations.
Well, these international obligations are funny because we choose to adhere to some international obligations, but not others. These same international obligations apply to Denmark, Poland, Hungary. They don't seem to adhere to them. The earlier international obligations, when I talked about local government, we signed up to EU Charter for Local Democracy, and on an EU level, we are trailing last in how independent our local governments are. And so, we choose to what things we want to adhere to. And for some reason, we are just hook, line and sinker signing up to EU migration pacts that go to the heart of national sovereignty when we had opt-outs negotiated for ourselves under Lisbon. Like, it is just bizarre, like, especially in the middle of a housing crisis, that we just have passed emergency planning laws to create IPAS centres all across the country that are tearing local communities apart. My phone rings every single day from people across the country asking me, Nick, can you look into this one for us? It's setting up across the road. We don't know what's going on. We are worried sick. And I feel that because people are contacting me about it. I wear that on myself every day. And Like, it's beautiful property as well. You're well aware of Dundrum, house.
Of course, yes. But could I bring you back to I suppose what the core of our conversation is, the presidency and everything that you're saying to me there now, whether people agree or disagree with you. The presidency can't cope with any of that by the nature of it.
But not an official capacity, in terms of the Constitution. But again, the presidency, the only person elected by the entire country, that means something. It should be used to say something. And this election, the country is so angry with certain things. Housing, immigration and costs would be the three biggest. That this election could turn into a referendum on those issues, whether or not the president has a functional role over them or not. And that's the reality.
Finally, can I talk to you? Because a couple of interesting things. I was reading a lot of stuff about you last night, but you talk about the complete lack of vision. And I think you make a reference as well back to the 60s and the likes of Whittaker and Lamass and one thing and another like that. Why do you think we're missing that vision? How did we get to this position where, according to yourself, that we have a lack of a plan, I suppose?
Yeah, well, the question I ask the people is, what is the 20 or 30-year plan or the 100-year plan for Ireland? And the answer is there is none. Like, it just seems to me that our plan at the moment is praying that Google, Apple, Pfizer don't leave. That's not sustainable. There was a report yesterday out, it was in the Business Post, that if it wasn't for 10 companies, the last 20 years in Ireland we would have ran deficits, major deficits.
Yes.
And so a phrase I use, I come up with, is the problem with Ireland is that money is not the problem. And so what that means is that at every issue that comes up, we have enough money to throw at the problem and paper over the cracks. And iPass centres is one of those, where we are able to accommodate 20 or 30,000 people because we have enough money to throw at landlords to put these people up and house them. But the minute that surplus goes, we are screwed. So what is the vision? What about our own industries? What are we doing to support small businesses and make them into bigger businesses? And we were very poor at that. At the end of the last government, they wanted to scrap one of our best tech startup accelerator programs, which they've kept alive for one more year, I think. But we should be doubling down on all of this: AI, technology, drones. This is where the world is moving, and we need to capitalize on it. But our minister for AI, she's a lovely lady, Niamh Smith, nothing against her, but she was quoted as saying, I'd never used ChatGPT before I got the role. And I'm just not sure we're taking this kind of thing seriously enough.
Well, and we see the headline of the Indo today: graduates are now losing out as the era of AI is coming on board and replacing jobs at this point. So it is very real, that's for sure. If you were to get into the Arbus, what would you do first?
It would be very interesting. I'd be trying to figure out exactly what I can do, right? And one of the things that I'd love to do is there was an NGO called Benefax. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So, the NGOs are famous at the moment. The only NGO that's ever been shut down over the last 10 years was an NGO that was basically a financial watchdog on the state and other NGOs. It was supported by the government, and then the government pulled funding because it was basically working too well. I talk a lot about this, and it's the only NGO to ever get its funding pulled. And it had funding of 800 grand a year or something like that, and it was neutral. It had no political view. It just put out raw data. I want to make it my mission to get that NGO back up and running, or something like it, because it's only when we follow the money and realise where all our money is being spent, who's it going to, that we can really map out what's going on in Ireland. So that's always been the core of all of my research, all of my stuff, as follow the money. So I want to know where all the money is going. As president, I think that's it represents the taxpayer. And that's the kind of president I want to be. Represent Irish people, the Irish taxpayer, and speak up for Ireland.
All right, most interesting conversation, Nick. We wish you well, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you along the way. Thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.